What's
What
up,
up, YouTube?
guys? Welcome back to our channel. My name is Yulia,
And I'm Mike.
and in this video, we're going to be sharing with you how to make profitable Facebook ads for your e-commerce and or drop shipping business. And before we get into it, just want to remind you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know every time we make a video. All our videos are about strategic advice and actionable steps you can take to make more money in your e-commerce business. So anytime you watch a video is a chance to make more money. So make sure you remember to do that.
Yes.
We're super pumped for this video because Facebook ads are like the #1 way to get customers into your Shopify or whatever store you've created, but not all Facebook ads are created equal.
Yeah, so that's a big thing that we want to talk about. People just think, oh, I need a high ROAS to make a lot of money on ads. And obviously the higher your return on ad spend, the better. But not everything's created equally. It's a function of how much your items cost you and how much you sell them for. So there are certain combinations where you can make a killing with a 1.5 ROAS, and there are other ones where you'll lose money with a 2.5 ROAS. So you definitely need to know your numbers. That's a huge thing.
Exactly. Like the worst thing you can do is to fly blindly. Like that's something I did before Mike started doing ads with me. Is I would just run ads to different products and just kind of guess what's making money and what's not making money based on what I saw other people doing in Facebook groups and whatnot. So that is the worst thing you could do because you really, don't know what's happening.
Yes.
Number 2, I also didn't know how to evaluate my data. So I didn't know where I was losing customers in that journey from seeing the Facebook ad to actually getting to the store. So we're going to teach you guys exactly how to do that today, how to evaluate your Facebook ads and how to fill those gaps where you're losing customers along the way. Yes. The first thing that we want you guys to remember with all of this is to be patient. We didn't learn this overnight. We learned this through a lot of trial and error, and we want to share what we've learned so you don't waste as much money as we've done.
Or time. That could be worse.
So just remember to be patient, be kind to yourself, but also don't be afraid to test different things, especially if you use the strategies that we give you here today. When you test, hopefully you're not losing as much money because you know exactly how to read the data, and the data is going to tell you exactly what to do in order to make more money.
Yes.
So that being said, shall we
Let's get into it? So yeah, the first thing that we wanted to talk about is understanding your numbers and understanding what a good ROAS is, because that's the most important of all the columns you can see in Ads Manager is figuring out your ROAS, because that tells you, am I making money or am I losing money? So what we have here is a simple spreadsheet that we created, and you can download this too in the comments section. Just check it out there in the description of the video. So very simply, what you do is you just input how much you're selling your item for and how much the item costs you to purchase. And then you can fill in your Shopify processing fees or PayPal fees. And those are super easy to look up. We give you the links to figure out exactly where the pricing for that is. So you just put those numbers in there and the calculator spits out to you exactly what your break-even return on ad spend is and what your break-even cost per purchase is. And then we also show you for what numbers you need for 5% profit, 10% profit, and 15% profit. And the formulas are pretty simple. You can amend them too if you want to figure out how to get more than 15% profit, things like that. So this is available in the description. So definitely go download this. It's super important because the first thing you need to know more than anything when you're running an ad is, how do I determine if it's profitable or not?
Absolutely. And I know it says it in the sheet, in the calculator, but I just want to remind you, especially if you're drop shipping from AliExpress, to remember to include the shipping in your cost of goods, because that is a way that I got really screwed for a long time, because the goods are like super cheap, but the shipping is very expensive. So do not forget to factor that in, because it really makes a big difference.
And country to country, the shipping can vary dramatically. So just know where you're sending things to and just know your numbers, what you can afford, things like that. So use this calculator first and foremost to do that. So once you know that, then we want to kind of share with you how we set up our columns in Facebook Ads Manager so that we can kind of look at the data in the clearest way possible. So this is just a simple setup that we have here for one of our ad accounts. And this is just showing at the ads level. These are the columns we like to lay out in what I think is a logical order. So over here on the left side, we just have the name of the ad and then the budget, because that's just an important thing to see. Is this a higher one or a lower one? Love the delivery column too, because it'll tell you if your ad's been approved or not. It tells you if you are in a learning phase or if you're past that. Also, if Shopify or whatever your web hosting company is having issues that day, it'll tell you if there's a poor landing page experience. That'll also tell you if your landing page is just super slow in general. Mm-hmm. So that's a great column to just have there for your reference. And then we kind of get into, that's not data. Now we get into like numbers. The next column we have here is frequency. For cold traffic ads, frequency is not going to be important, but for retargeting ads, frequency is super important. So we like to have that there.
You don't want to annoy people.
Yeah, or you do want to annoy people, but just the right amount. You don't really want to get like 25 on frequency. Well, certain times I guess you can for certain campaigns. And then after that, the next several columns are helping you evaluate what's going on with your actual ad. The cost per engagement is our next column, followed by relevance score. And then we have 4 columns there: the average video watch time, and the number of people who watch at 25%, who watch 50%, and who watch 95% of your video. So you can see for this example data we have here, these were for image ads, which is why those columns are blank for videos. But that will show you definitely how long people are watching your videos for. And of course, there's going to be a drop-off, but you can kind of see where in your video there is a drop-off significantly and kind of maybe amend your video to that. But also what's really important is that we've seen through trial and error is that cost per engagement, relevance score, and the video watch time factors play a huge role in determining what your CPM is, your cost per 1,000 impressions, which is the next column. And your CPM is determined by the country you're targeting, by those factors that I mentioned before, by how much competition there is to be presented to the people you're targeting. Time of year is huge. In Q4, you'll see them go up. At the end of quarters, you'll see them go up. So it's definitely a good metric to just keep an eye on, because CPM is basically telling you how expensive it is for your ads to be seen. So from CPM there, then we look at CTR, which is your click-through rate, and CPC, which is your cost per click. So your cost per click is depending exactly on your CPM and your CTR. How much do my ads cost, and how often are people clicking through to them? And that determines your cost per click right there. So that is everything from there, and beforehand is the information you have about what's going on with your actual ad. And from here on now, people are in your store after they've clicked, and we're looking at different parts of that funnel as they get closer to the end goal, which is the purchase. We have the cost per add to cart, followed by the cost per checkout initiate, and then the number of purchases and the cost per purchase.
Oh, I was just going to add, like, before you even start looking at the add to cart and everything like that, if you see that your CTR, your click-through rate is low, you can isolate the problem right there. That means that people either like, they don't like the picture that you're using or the video that you're using, or they don't like the copy that you're using. So if you have a low click-through rate, right away you know that you can isolate the problem just in that Facebook ad creative. It could be actually the creative, or it could be the targeting as well. So something about either who you're delivering it to or what you're delivering just like isn't clicking.
Yeah, so CTR is the most important metric as far as how is my ad doing.
Yes.
because it's a percentage. And then cost per click can be more deceiving because it depends also on the CPM, how expensive your audience is. So CTR is what you definitely want to look for on your ad level and just see what you want to adjust. And if you know, like, this is definitely the right audience, then you're having a problem with your messaging or your video or image. But, you know, if you think that stuff is good and you're just not sure, you're testing audiences and you see a lot higher CTR in one audience versus another, then that kind of gives you more of an idea of who your target is for this. But like we said, we've determined already from our calculator what our break-even cost per purchase is and our break-even ROAS is. So that's the one data that we know. And if we see that we're making money, then everything's good. Right? Well, no, you still can optimize this by looking at every single step along the way. And if it's bad, you can look at every step along the way to see how it's going. So like we touched upon there, CTR is the number one indicator for what's going on with your ad. Okay, so then people click and then they get onto your website. Do you have a huge gap between your cost per click and your cost per add to cart? That tells you that your issue right there is something on your landing page.
Yes, so either your landing page is loading slowly, people aren't liking the price of the product, there could be problems with the functionality of your website. Like I know we've had issues in the past where a product became sold out and we just needed to update the inventory number, but what happened was the actual add to cart button wasn't working. So it could literally be as simple as that, or it could be a little bit more complicated in terms of the price, the speed of the website, or even the product description. So I would never say to test all those things at once. I'm a big fan of testing only one variable at a time. So you know, like if you change the price and the description and all of a sudden your ads are crushing it, okay, well, what actually, made that
what
difference?
Combination did that?
Right? So I would start with the functionality first. So make sure that your website is loading and the button is working. If that's all cool, then from there, I would move on to either price or product description, and vice versa. So test only one thing at a time. That's like super important.
So which kind of goes along with product description there and stuff like that is you want to make sure there's a huge congruency between your landing page and your ad. If it's a video or if it's a picture specifically, have that picture that people clicked on to get to your ad be the first picture they see on your landing page.
That's huge.
Because people don't want to click on something and feel like, wait, is this even the same product I clicked on? What's going on here? Like what was featured prominently in your video should be featured prominently as a still image on your page right away.
Absolutely.
So that's important. All right, so the next step then there, people are adding to cart, but there's a huge gap between add to cart, initiate, checkout. Okay, what would you say what the problem there is?
So there it could be really one of two things. One, if your shipping is free or not free, that could affect that. So we've tested both things and we don't really see a huge difference between like having free shipping or having cheaper shipping, but you need to test that. Like maybe your audience will convert better with free shipping. Maybe your audience will convert better without free shipping. So I would start there if you're having that disconnect.
Yeah, so I mean, shipping is really what the biggest disconnect between add to cart, initiate, checkout is going to be. If you're like seeing a huge gap, you're like, but I offer free shipping, what would the problem be? Well, make sure it's prominently known that you offer free shipping.
Yeah.
Put it in a banner on the top of your website. There's lots of hacks we can share too about how you can change the language on your cart to explicitly say that you have free shipping. Let people know. You have to hold their hand throughout the step. If that's something that you have, then really make sure that's known because that is huge. And if you don't have that and you see a huge gap, maybe you're charging too much for shipping.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've seen, and from personal experience, if I'm buying something that's like, I don't know, $30, but shipping is $7, like I'm not going to pay for that, even though I probably would pay for that if it was $37 and free shipping. So that's something that you have to test. But if there's a disconnect between the checkout, initiate, and purchase, I would definitely recommend looking into shipping.
Yeah. And then I would say the next part of the funnel there is your ratio from checkout initiate to cost per purchase. And that is what happens when people are on your checkout page. Shopify says you really can't. If you're on Shopify or something like that, you really can't change too much what's going on your checkout page. Although there are a lot of hacks that people do to add trust banners and things like that to your checkout page. From all the data I have from putting tons of money into Facebook ads, I've seen that messing with that does not help you at all, because putting anything else like that slows down your checkout page. And at that point, that's the worst thing you can do. Speed is the most important part of a checkout page. You should have already built their trust before then. So that's unnecessary to add that stuff there. That stuff should be added on the product page or the cart page.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, and speed is just so important for your website in terms of like loading the landing page and checkout,
Speed
because
kills.
yeah, especially like a lot of purchases that people make specifically off of Facebook ads tend to be impulse buys, right? So people like
I see it, I want it.
they get it. They don't even think about it. They just get it. But if it's taking a while to load, then that gives them time to change their mind. So you want to just make sure, I know I'm like a broken record with this, but that your landing page and your checkout page are loading very, very quickly.
Yeah, so I think just take a screenshot of this video right here, so you know this is the order of the columns, just because this logically lays it out all the way from someone seeing your ad, how much does it cost versus how often are they clicking, and then every step of the funnel here is laid out, and I think that's what's most important. And then you can see your gaps, and we explained what each gap means, so that's how you optimize your ads.
That's
Yes.
right. So to sum up, number one, download that free calculator.
Yes.
And know your numbers, because when you know your numbers, you can make smart, strategic decisions. There's no guessing when it comes to Facebook ads and dropshipping or e-commerce. There should be, well, a little bit of guessing, but not in terms of Facebook ads.
The amount of times I've seen in groups and heard people say like, oh, my ads stink. And you're like, okay, what's wrong with it? And they're like, oh, I don't know, it just doesn't work. Well, that's because you're not looking at the data step by step.
Exactly. So number one, know your numbers. Number two, look at the data and look at it the right way, which is the way we showed you. And number three, be patient. Don't give up. You know, keep trying different things, because eventually it will work. If everything worked after the first try, everyone would be a big dog millionaire with a Lamborghini after drop shipping. But you need to take
part of that third part with patience, I really believe, is understanding that these are statistical averages that you're going to. There are going to be highs and there are going to be lows. If I had, a 3 ROAS one day, tomorrow I can have a 1, or tomorrow I can have a 6, and it's still, the numbers should equilibrate over time, but just what you do one day is not what you're going to do the next day. You have to understand that it's as good as your funnel is, it's still different people joining it. Different people have different behaviors. It's going to just be averages is what's most important.
Yes. So don't be knee jerk. Like, that's one thing I did, is like, oh, cool, I'm crushing it today, I think. So let me like dupe everything and raise the budget on everything. And like the next day it's like, oh shit, like everything sucks. Like, let me turn everything off. Like, by being super knee-jerk, you're never going to find those averages. You're not even going to have enough data to evaluate properly. Yep. So really just be patient, give it time, and know your numbers, and you're going to crush it.
And subscribe.
Subscribe, like, and ring the bell. Click the bell. And, don't forget to get your calculator. Anything else? You can tell us how amazing we are. You can ask us any questions, and we will see you guys in the next video.
Coming up soon.
Okay. Bye.